Welcome back. Well, now we'll move on to continuing, as a matter of fact, with this case of xenophobia as it's playing out in South Africa. Nigeria taking some actions, but we'll come to that in a moment. But let me get this perspective. I mean, you say that the xenophobia by itself, not a crime, but wherein they then kill someone. So what does that mean? Does that mean that they will, perhaps in the course of maybe all those protests and actions going on, and someone dies, that case will be separated and treated as murder in South Africa?
Well, first of all, xenophobia is not an international crime. It may exist
locally.
It may exist locally, either as xenophobia or as other acts, such as murder, manslaughter, or grievous bodily harm, or assault, deadly assault. I'm not conversant with South African law, but they would have some provision. Internationally, such acts would be regarded as crimes against humanity. And as Mark rightly pointed out, incitement. Incitement is an international crime. Direct and public incitement, which it seems from the evidence, seems to be the case here, that somebody in a position of authority went out of his way to incite the populace.
Even though he says, no, that's not what I meant.
Well, he's at liberty to confirm or deny it. I haven't probably realized the implications of what he's done and how it's gotten out of hand, and the international response to it. I would be very surprised if he hadn't retracted on that. So going back to your question, yes, acts of xenophobia are tantamount to acts of violence, whether prosecuted by way of assault or murder or some sort of culpable homicide in their domestic jurisdiction.
But while that went on, there was a lot of reaction back home here.
Yes.
Lots of people calling for all sorts of things. The protests at different embassies. One was eventually shut down in South African embassy here. It was eventually shut down. But what's your impression of how we responded to it? Because many thought, we should send a strong message, we should take certain actions, but Nigeria at the moment said, just calm down, we're handling it in the best possible way that we can.
I think our response was measured in the circumstances. That was appropriate. I think that if you inquire further into the events in South Africa, Nigerians were not the primary targets of those attacks, because very few Nigerians actually engage in the sort of petty businesses and corner shops, and it's mostly the Somalians that do that business. The Nigerians got caught up in it along the line somewhere. We were not the primary targets, and I'm very sure that our government actually realizes that we were not the primary targets. There has been some investigations by the deputy or the acting ambassador in the High Commissioner in South Africa, which has revealed that Nigerians were not the primary target. We got caught up along the fray. Maybe Nigerians were defending some of the African brothers, as we are very good at doing, and we got swept along in the whole euphoria. But the attacks were not deliberately centered on Nigerians.
All right, let me flip over to Mr. Obele Amedi-Ode, who is the Director of Public Communication Division in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He joins us via phone this morning from Abuja. Thank you for joining us today. Tell us, what's the thinking of our government on this matter of xenophobia?
Well, as explained by the press statement that we've released serially over the period of the last 3 weeks when the attack began, it is regrettable and it is condemnable. Nigeria has condemned it at the official level. Ordinary Nigerians have reacted as such to it. So the position is quite clear. It is condemnable, and Nigeria has moved ahead engaging the South African authorities in finding lasting solutions to the xenophobic attacks.
So what kind of conversation went on between Nigeria and South Africa? Because at the time, remember, the House of Representatives, even the Senate also spoke up about this one. The Minister of Foreign Affairs was in the Assembly to explain certain things, and some of them felt strongly about it. Tell us then, what kind of conversation went on?
At the National Assembly, you will recall that a couple of weeks ago, when the attacks began, the Senate passed a resolution inviting the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs to come and have an interactive session with them. That interactive session held last Tuesday. And basically, it is to let the lawmakers know what has happened and tell what steps have been taken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in reaction to the xenophobic attacks.
They felt that Nigeria was not taking, or that we were not acting as we ought to, or that we were rather slow while victims, Nigerians, were caught up in that attack.
Yes, that was their position until the point where they were briefed by the Honorable Minister, who indeed was accompanied by the Honorable Minister of State too, on that occasion. And in addition, with the two senior diplomats declared from headquarters to South Africa, that is the Charles Adeogun-Philips in Pretoria and the Consul General in Durban, in Johannesburg.
So what is Nigeria's position on the matter?
Well, Nigeria's position that it is regrettable, and first, our reaction was towards the Nigerians that in the process, during the period of the attack, Nigerians were advised to be under the radar, one, by not opening up their businesses so that they don't become very susceptible to attacks. Two, stay at home. Three, inform the local police, local security agencies of any suspicious movement or untoward acts. And our embassy, our High Commission in Pretoria, and the Consulate General in Johannesburg engaged also leaders of the Nigerian communities in the affected areas. This includes KwaZulu-Natal province, the epicenter of the riots, and the Gauteng province, where Johannesburg itself.
So are you saying then that what we're trying to do right now is restore relations, because it would seem that is it a mistake was made when Nigeria's ambassador was recalled?
Can you ask the question again? I didn't get it quite right.
Are you saying that we're trying to restore relations because it would seem that a mistake was made when Nigeria's ambassador was recalled?
First of all, the relations was not broken, so there's no question of restoration of the relation. Two, Nigeria's High Commissioner was not recalled for the very fact that we don't have a substantive High Commissioner in Pretoria right now. What we have is Charles Adeogun-Philips.
Okay.
So their visit to Nigeria was not a recall. It was a summon for consultations preparatory for the outing at the National Assembly.
Okay, that's interesting, because it would seem, we understand, that the PAMSEC of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was suspended over that.
It was not mixed up, and the error, it was reported erroneously in the media that it was a recall. It was not a recall. It was a summon for consultation.
Authorized by who? Because also it would seem that at the Federal Executive Council, some clarification was provided to press people after the meeting.
And are you not satisfied with that clarification?
The clarification seems to be at odds with what you're saying.
What I know, you get this clearly, is not at odds with what I am saying. What the Federal Executive Council said was that there was no recall.
It was an invitation not authorized by the president?
We are getting two things differently. Right? One, you are saying recall, and we are saying no, it wasn't a recall, it was a summon.
Okay, so I'm saying that we've considered that much. If it was a summon, it was not authorized by the president. That's what I'm asking.
No, I wouldn't want to go into that now.
I'm just asking to confirm or not confirm what the Federal Executive Council said. I'm sorry.
I think I want to excuse myself out of that, whether it was authorized or not authorized, but what the President has said was to summon the two senior diplomats for consultation.